Welcome. This is Blind Shovel, an arts and music podcast. For this one, I spoke in person with Matlock. We're both based out of New Jersey, and I have a fondness for his very strange and apocalyptic pencil drawings. Hope you enjoy. Played Doom?
Yeah, like the 90's Doom, you know? It's like people like take the original whatever, like the game like foundation and they build their own maps and stuff, you know? So it's like different WADs is what they're called, but they're really
WADs?
just it's really just like Doom maps and Doom episodes that people like make themselves or whatever.
How often
I've been
do you
like
play video
addicted
games?
to doing that since like COVID, like once a day. But it's Doom like on the computer. It's not like whatever the new shit. I don't know. It's like pretty primitive, but I'll play for like an hour, 45 minutes.
So you play mostly older video games?
Oh, I just played Doom.
You just played Doom?
Yes. It's like, and I like listening to like, you know, music while I'm playing. So like I have the music off, so I'll like listen to, you know, whatever like aggressive music as I'm playing Doom. It's like a habit.
Okay, so where do you live?
I live in West Orange now.
West Orange, New Jersey.
Yeah, off of Main Ave.
But you're not from New Jersey.
No, I'm from Massachusetts.
And you went to school or no?
Yeah, I went to Montclair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was expensive. It was okay. I mean, it could have been worse. I guess at the time I went, it was expensive, but it's worse now.
So what did you study there?
Dietetics, which is like how to plan diets for people.
What?
Dietetics. It's like a branch of nutrition, basically.
Whoa.
I know you're thinking I said Dianetics. It's
Yeah,
the University
very-
of Scientology, dude. Hubbard
So you
University.
studied how to... What's your diet like?
I mean, now that I live with my girlfriend, it's like she makes food a lot, so it's not as great as it used to be. But like I used to eat sardines with like arugula, a tomato, and maybe
like a
avocado.
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah,
Is that right?
kind
Is
of.
that right? So you studied that.
Granola, yeah.
And in that time you were drawing these weird boy drawings?
Yeah, I guess.
That's how I would define it. Your art is
Boy
like the
drawings.
height of boy drawings. It's masterful
that.
boy drawing.
I kind of know. I like the time you said like teenage boy, you know, it's like teenage boy art or whatever. And that's really what it is. I think it's founded on like I can just start drawing without looking at anything, obviously. But like a lot of what it goes back to is like probably action figures, especially the packaging on action figures. G.I. Joe, I was really into that.
Yeah, it's suburban boy influences. I have the same
Yeah.
thing. But something about yours evokes more of someone almost bored in high school drawing obsessively in a notebook. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do that still. Like, I'll just, you know, whenever I have a meeting for work, for example, like everybody knows I'm just going to doodle the whole time. I don't really.
So at work, they know your
They don't know.
They know your true identity.
No, they don't.
They don't.
But they just know I like to draw. Like, but whenever I have a break, you know, on my lunch break, I go out to my car and just draw in my car and listen to music. Or if it's nice, I'll sit outside. But I sit far away because I don't want people coming up like, "What are you drawing?" Like, try to avoid that. Just because I don't want to have to explain myself, or I don't want to have to like make a excuse for something that they think is distasteful. Which, you know, a lot of my art, I guess, could be crude or interpreted
Creepy.
as crude, creepy. Maybe a little perverted, although it's not all the time. But
do you think you could draw something that isn't
well,
like
yeah,
that? Like could
I've
you draw
drawn things
beautiful
for
things?
my girlfriend for
Really?
like her birthday. I won't draw a picture of her because I mean that's never worked out. But like I'll draw, you know, I made like this painting for her once, like a unicorn and like a cat, and they're in this garden. Or I'll draw her things like for a card or whatever, and they're not creepy, but
So you have the skill set to be not creepy.
I guess so. Yeah.
I'm just saying that because it's hard for me to make beautiful things sometimes. Beautiful things, there's much less line work. But the creepy, oozy, drippy world, you can just get in there and kind of etch it.
I think it's also like part of that is, you know, I mean, I'm not a very, I would say I'm a nice person like to strangers, but I'm not a positive person. So a lot of that creepiness is just like, probably a lot of it is my mental sort of outlook on everything. It like comes across in that kind of art, you know?
In what sense are you?
Like my art usually expresses some kind of like, you know, broken, apocalyptic sort of place, or violent. It's usually pretty violent, or, I mean, not everything. Like that risograph, the Mega Press zine, for example, is pretty like serene. It doesn't have too many like, you know, it's a little violent here and there, but in a more like silly way. There's not like blood and guts and stuff. And
that's always been your worldview?
Well,
this kind of
ever since I hit puberty, I've been,
once you got a boner,
pretty negative person.
Getting a boner, it's like eating the apple in the Garden of Eden. Puberty is like that.
Yeah. I think at the time, I just have to. Are we recording?
Yeah, dude.
Okay. You don't start with music like, this is.
No.
Yeah, I know, it's all post editing. We'll have to edit that out. But, yeah, boner, well, certainly, because you start viewing the world in this different way where, you know, you want to spread your seed around, I guess, or that's the feeling, you know, or you want to just, I guess, make love to somebody, to put it politely, which you didn't have that feeling before. You just had like your parents, you know, your relatives, and I guess, you know, the outside world was more of a place where everyone was kind of, you know, you're innocent, so people just seemed like they were good at heart or something, besides, you know, famously bad people or whatever that you learned about. But
yeah, you're innocent in a certain way.
Yeah,
you're definitely not innocent. But
no.
But this is a whole another level.
I know,
of potential corruption.
Yeah,
the ability to have sex or jizz. You know, were you a 4chan?
No, because I'm too old. Because I'm from, you know, 1984, so I'm 38. So
okay,
yeah. So I got online maybe the very end of the 90s, and you know, Napster, LimeWire, like that's where I would focus most of my attention, trying to download music or read about music, or which I still do. I waste like so much time on the internet.
You make music, right?
No, I don't. I've come to realize like my way of making music, for one thing, it's like it consumes too much time, energy, you know, money. It's like if I was really going to do it again, I got to really believe in what I'm doing. And if it's just like an obsessive little manic, like I want to make something, like usually it doesn't, I either don't follow through all the way, or I make something and I think maybe it's really good, but like it's only in that moment of being like swept away in what I'm doing. And then like to other people, you know, they don't quite hear what I'm hearing, or they don't understand it. So I think if I was going to make music again, I'd have to be with somebody else, like I used to be, like with my friend or my friends, like where there's other personalities, there's other skill levels, you know, it's not just me. But
you gave me a cassette once. That was
music. Like my last thing that I did.
And what kind of music was it?
I mean, it was basically like, I guess you could say indie, punk, pop, noisy stuff. I mean, that undersells it because it was kind of bizarre. The truth is, at the time I was, you know, doing a lot of like dissociatives and stuff. So my brain was kind of like in this other, or at least I was interpreting music like in this exciting way that felt new, and I wanted to make something similar. And a lot of it was just me getting back into rock music, because before that I'd listened to so much electronic music for like years. And it was kind of like, wow, you know, this is cool. Like I'm listening to things that I hadn't heard in a long time, and, you know, kind of putting my own spin on, you know.
The kratom with the tinfoil.
I still have that. But.
Yeah, what's up with kratom?
Kratom. I've probably been on that for like 7 years. I don't know.
You've been on it? You're the one who told me it's pronounced kratom, right?
No. I always thought it was kratom, but my friend says kratom.
Okay.
But it's not very like.
What's the deal with it?
It's just like good for doing shit you don't want to do. Like it's good for doing homework, like when I was in school, or it's good for doing. There's not like a head element really, and the body element is like you'd have to take a lot of it. Like if you want to feel some kind of body buzz where you're like falling asleep, and I hate that feeling. That's why I never really dabbled too much, with the opiate class, because A, it's dangerous. Now it's like super fucking dangerous. But even at the
like
time,
it used to be.
Yeah, even at the time with like poppy seed tea and stuff, like it felt kind of great for like 5 minutes, and then it was just like this feeling of I want to do something, but I'm falling asleep. Like it was just kind of annoying, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm gonna assume you don't make art when you're on drugs.
No, I do and I don't. So it's a mix. It's and that's if we're counting, alcohol and coffee and all these other things. I mean,
I mean, like the real class.
But yeah, tripping or whatever, never have. I've had fun drawing, but it's not useful, because
it's not good.
It's not good because it's just either. I mean, it's more of an experience, but it doesn't produce anything that I'm ever going to use. Like maybe an idea, but never actual drawing. Like forget it.
So as a child, were you drawing?
Yeah, so I've pretty much been drawing since I can remember, since maybe 5 or something. I still have a lot of those drawings, and obviously it's like regular crappy little kid like stick things, but then slowly over time, like I was copying like those Dover coloring books. You remember those?
Those are good.
Yeah.
The Pokey the Little Puppy?
Well, no, the Dover.
Oh, sorry,
ones,
no, that's Golden.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, those factor in somewhere. Honestly, I was thinking Dover's a couple months ago, but Dover's like the historical. Like, there's the Knights, there's the pirate one. There's So I would be copying a lot of those, and then copying action figure packs. Like,
so is your style evident when you're very young? Is it or is it boner induced? It's a boner induced.
I mean, it might be because honestly, there's a lot of old drawings I have that. Especially like probably around the time I was in, what would you say, like 5th grade, I guess, when I was still homeschooled. Like there's a lot of drawings from that time that are influenced by Alien toys, which my parents never let me buy.
Same. I wasn't allowed to. Predator toys or Alien toys?
Predator too. Yeah. My parents didn't let me get those, but I had
good parents.
But I had
That's what parents should do.
I had the little Kenner like booklet, and I would like flip through that and just copy all the different aliens and different things. And
you said you were homeschooled.
Yeah, from like 3rd grade to 6th grade, or to the end of 5th grade to be precise.
Huh.
Yeah, my parents took me out of Christian school and then they made me go to their Christian homeschool. Well, I guess
sick.
Yeah, but and I wouldn't give it up for anything because I got out of work. I mean, I got out of school at like 12 o'clock. So it was just a lot of time to play, and like. That's what me and my sister did. We would make up these stories that, or make up our own, like, kind of fantasy versions of Star Wars or Power Rangers or whatever we were into. And
yeah, it's funny you mentioned the Christian thing because, I mean, I like that in Christianity the world is fallen because you don't have utopic urges because it's already fallen.
True.
Like, you want to live a good life. But you also know it's not going to be that good. And that's a very valuable thing as opposed to thinking, oh, life could be perfect if we could just get rid of this group of people, this way of thinking. That's far more corrosive, in my opinion.
But Christianity ends up there because it just ends up this assumption that, like, you're going to go to heaven, and then that's what there is no black or death or decay or, smells that you don't like or... gross looking things. It's all like bright, like white light and love, and it's boring. It's like there's no. It's that's what people think life should be. Like there should be no deaths. Everything should just be like comfortable all the time. Everything should just be like clean and pure, and it's like it ends up in the same sort of place as like let's turn the world into a communist utopia or whatever.
Well, the difference is one is here, the other's there.
The other's just near imagination. Well, they're both near imagination, but the heaven thing is like more abstract, I guess. It's abstract.
What role does being raised Christian play in the art, you think?
Well, the anxiety. Like a lot of my characters are anxious looking, or they're like sweating or whatever, and that's like part of it is because it's a very anxiety inducing belief system. At least the way I was raised was like, the rapture is going to come any day. Like,
you had that brain.
Yeah. And I would like pray, like, please don't let it come yet. Cause I want to like, go out with this girl or whatever,
Of course, you got to get it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to bed thinking about hell
Well,
at least for an hour every day.
I'm going to assume you're a Catholic or no?
Yeah. But I was fortunate to have like a very moderate, like I didn't, none of that rapture or.
Yeah.
It's almost like a social way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it allowed me to, because I'm more and more Christian now, but like I know people who went through what you're talking about, or extreme. And like, it's hard to ever come back, it seems.
Well, I mean, now we could go on a big debate, which we probably best avoid. But
sure,
the way I look at it is kind of like there's no way to say, like, even though people will do it, like my dad will do it all the time. Like, I know that, like, you know, Yahweh is the way that I'm taught, that he is, or my version of this is the only way that, it can be. And like everyone else is wrong. That's why I don't like it. But that goes for like any religion once it becomes more than, I guess, a small cult or whatever. Not that I like cults either, but,
Cults are aesthetically more interesting usually.
Yeah. Well, religion is the mainstream. I mean, most people are vaguely religious, like in America anyway. I mean, from my experience.
Even the esoteric traditions look more interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to resist the temptation of going, it's kind of lame to delve into that too much, the esoteric symbols, and then just like putting them in imagery in a way where you don't understand them, but it looks cool and edgy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
know.
Like the stuff I'm drawing right now is like overtly Christian, but very weird. But using the symbols of like a cross.
Yeah.
Like nothing cool. It's not upside down. It's not, it just is the thing.
Yeah, it could be cool. I mean, but yeah, it's the context. Like Black Sabbath made that kind of cool, in my opinion. Like just a regular cross. It's not, doesn't have like snakes and stuff wrapped around it. It's not upside down, like you said. It's just kind of a traditional looking cross, and it has a very like gothic sort of timeless, like somber feeling about it that I think can be cool. But yeah, putting it in your art is like either people assume you're mocking it or you're supporting it. And either way, they're not looking at the whole piece. They're like thinking about the cross and
yeah, it's loaded.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've been to church?
It's a good question. Probably like not counting like any kind of funeral or anything.
Yeah, you can't count those.
Yeah, probably like I don't know, like 2003 or something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's tough. The aesthetics of American churches, it's just not. It's not appealing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an issue, The aesthetics of modern Christianity are not very interesting.
No, and the music is probably the worst music being created on the planet at this time.
Well, it depends how conveniently you define the category, right? Because like there's a ton of rap that is Christian.
No, yeah, I know. I'm talking about like when you turn on that radio and you hear K-Love or whatever, that shit is vile. Like it just sounds like the most soulless thing that there is. Like, 10 times worse than Katy Perry or something,
Like reggae is obviously deeply Christian.
That is true.
But it's a funny idea. Like I have another friend who's, I don't even know if he would call himself Christian, but we'll call him Abrahamic.
Okay.
And it's like, what does it mean to be a Christian musician or Christian artist?
Yeah.
When you make it your central identity, when you make anything like that your central identity, whether it's political or religious, you just become super boring.
I agree.
Maybe because you're at the service of the idea.
Yeah.
It's using you.
Exactly.
In a weird way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just part of your identity. You're just reinforcing it to people that agree with you. It's like any music like sucks like that. It's like if you go, looking for whatever niche thing like Black Death's war metal, where the imagery is like goats and gas masks and shit like that. Masks. Like none of those bands are making anything interesting, but they make the music for the scene, so the scene buys it, and it's just like a cycle of their little niche thing, and it's kind of politics, making music all about politics is another thing I tend not to like, because when anything is so heavily self-referential in a way that's like, I don't know, I'm kind of getting off topic.
Well, it's just telling you what to believe.
Yeah.
It's talking to you like you should think a certain way.
There's good Christian music like from a long time ago. I mean, there's plenty of like heavy metal things that have Christian elements, like Trouble, the doom metal band, or there's a lot of like Christianity in, alternative rock, metal things but yeah, like the overtly Christian stuff where especially the stuff nowadays where they just sing like, he is the best,
it's
rough. And never like talks about
rough.
God or Jesus. Yeah. It's just like the most lame shit you can possibly imagine. Anyway,
so what are your what's your primary identity?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm an atheist.
I'm saying in general, but all right, you're not an atheist. What are you?
I mean, I just think nobody could really know. So I don't know. I just think it's like nobody can know the particularities of this stuff. It's like, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it doesn't mean because you can't answer like why we're here.
That's the true horror of the mystery, the great mysteries. Like you don't know if a demiurge made this entire reality, and you just go into a 1-foot prison forever when you die.
You don't really know. Nobody knows for sure. Like, so
but you should stay open to that more than some materialist view that it just ends. Like, it's more probable. I think that it, and it's not a good thing per se, that this thing continues on infinitely in some very weird way.
I would think it's more probable, than just dying, going in the ground and the worms eat you. I mean, that's so materialistic, and obviously there's something beyond, in my opinion, and not so much based on anecdotal experience, but there's something more than simply like this meat and bone thing. But I just think it's hard to say, like, even souls. Like, I had this conversation at work, not to talk too much about work, but
where you work?
I work for like a local municipality.
A local municipality. Yeah. So this is a conversation at the local municipality.
Yeah. So I'm doing like, some kind of government job basically. But anyway, the point being, like, I mentioned something about, like souls or the assumption of souls, and like pretty much all my coworkers turned on me in like one instant, like, how can you not think there's a soul? And it was just like,
oh, you're not into the soul.
I'm just saying, like, it's an assumed thing, like humans have souls, and it's like this little like carrying case of everything that we experience, or it's this animating force that carries our energy or whatever. And it's like, that's a cool idea. It's just not like, how does that come about, or who can say for sure? Like,
my friend said a funny thing. He said he used to do like a lot of drugs in Hawaii. He would just find mushrooms on the beach.
Yes.
He's from Hawaii. And he said, I came to believe in souls by watching people do enough drugs that I thought they got rid of their soul. And I certainly have met drug people. And honestly, you might even be able to say people with I don't know, Alzheimer's or something, but where like the absence of the thing seems pretty evident.
Yeah.
And when I've also met people who just exude and maybe it's just interesting people, but I've also met what I think are soulful people, and I don't think that's just a semantic twist. Like, I think there's degrees of souls, which is an uncomfortable reality. You know what I'm saying? A spectrum of souls, not like this animal has it and then this one doesn't.
Well, that actually opens up the whole thing, because like that, if we have souls or whatever, because we're animated and we're living and experience this 5 sense perception of the world or whatever, animals would fall into the same category. I mean, so wouldn't animals also have souls? And of course, it's funny because a lot of people don't think they think it's like humans have these these souls, and it's like this special thing, but it's either like a universal thing or it's not like anything. Like it just, just another concept from the human experience, but it's either one way or the other to me. I don't understand how humans could have souls, but like, a moose or a killer whale or a lion or even other stupid ass animals like a platypus or something doesn't have the same animating. You don't think so?
No, I'm kidding.
I mean, nobody can say, but
no. So I'm assuming you don't draw from an emotional place. Like you're not channeling emotion into the drawing. Unless anxiety is counted as a...
I guess. I think at this point in my life, and maybe the past like 10 years, maybe the past like 8 years, I don't know. I can draw without... It's just relaxing for me. I can draw without thinking about drawing too much, unless it's like the comic book, that I made. Then I got to think about it the whole time. But most of the time I can draw without thinking about it. And I do it like in a scheduled manner. So I always draw like around the same times and so on. So it's like part of my routine. It's not really something where I feel a lot of emotional well, a lot of emotion like welling up inside me, and I have this impulsive urge to kind of create something visually, like as a result,
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I would assume by seeing the work. It feels like a consistent viewpoint, unshaken by emotional interpretation of reality. And it's
I think so. I mean, sometimes I'll look at my drawings and like kind of imagine somebody trying to analyze all of them, and that includes somebody analyzing all these like problematic things, like and obviously I just make what I make, but sometimes I'll think, what do other people see? How do they?
There's so many problems within them that I don't see problematic things ever. I can't imagine someone picking it out and being like,
well, yeah,
well, that's that right there.
Yeah, I know.
It's a hellscape.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean,
some of it is nice. I mean, I feel like after I went to California, when was that, 2018 or something, like the plants and everything were like really inspiring, and like the landscapes, and that to me feels very like neutral. But I mean, the plants do get a bit demonic and whatnot, like
everything is suspicious.
Yeah,
the plants included, the walls.
Yeah,
particularly suspicious. The composition I always find very interesting in its. I don't know if naive is the right word.
I think it is, because like I can't draw straight very well. Like even with the help of a ruler, it just becomes frustrating. Like I know it sounds stupid,
straight.
But I can't.
It doesn't look like a thing that's planned in the large scale.
No, it isn't at all. No.
One by one, kind of picked through.
Like sometimes. So to go back to your question of drawing on drugs or whatever, like a lot of times I'll start drawings, just during the day or whenever, or late at night, maybe, but sometimes, and I don't do. I mean, I basically just partaking of cannabis, That's the only like strong drug. Well, besides, the toxic drink that we're having now, but alcohol doesn't make for really good drawing. It's more like for writing or something. Like I love to write sometimes if I'm drunk and I'm just on a roll, even if nobody reads it, it's just for myself, but like it can be satisfying to write. But yeah, sometimes I'll just expand a drawing, in a elevated state of mind and just see like, oh, this opens up here. Like, and I also find it's very helpful for mistakes, because I used to just throw out all my shit that had any mistake on it. And like, then I got to saving all my mistakes and tracing them over carefully. And then like the last 8 years or so, like if there's a mistake, like I'll usually incorporate it into the larger piece if it works, if it feels right. And sometimes like the mistake will change the whole narrative that I was originally going for, the visual narrative. And like, I'm just kind of allowing that to happen, as opposed to being this strict, like, no, it has to look exactly like it does, in my mind or whatever. And anything else is like not worth seeing.
Yeah, there is a weird preciousness. And by that, I mean like, not discarding things, but the way that a teenager or a child with limited paper would like cut that thing out, put that there, and try to get the most out of what they have. I find that very interesting. And this is a very doomish perspective at times. Huh?
Yeah.
So Doom, I can see how video games influence the compositions.
Yeah.
But do you think there's an author who writes in this world?
You mean like somebody, like it's somebody's perception or somebody's...
Like whatever world this is that you draw within, is there an author that you think exists in there too? Like this weird sci-fi apocalyptic...
Sure. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of dependent on the piece. Like some pieces speak for themselves, and others, like the titles have become a lot more important to me over time. Like they used to be so random and stuff, but they become a lot more important because sometimes they tell you like what's going on. Like my girlfriend will look at some drawings sometimes and she won't even understand like what it's supposed to be or like what it is. And like, but sometimes if the title will like explain it, and it not all the time. Sometimes I like try not to do that, but other times it just fits,
Does she like the drawings?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of times she finds them, she likes the colors and like, I guess the combinations of colors that I use, and she likes the plants. Like she'll always say, add more flowers. And sometimes I listen, sometimes it doesn't work, but But yeah, I mean, I guess she likes them for what they are. She would probably prefer if I drew more like that guy with this artist she likes that draws those big, like big-headed, like baby doll. They're painted. It's like Mark
Ryden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes his art. I don't really care.
Do that. Don't do that.
I wouldn't do that. I went through all that in high school.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to draw anime style, or I'm going to draw, this style or whatever. And like, then I just said, fuck it. I'm just drawing, and whatever style that is what it is,
It's so consistent, the style.
I think that's the surrendering to it, kind of,
What do you, in terms of growth, do you concern yourself with that?
Well, like my career or whatever?
No, like
growth is a
how do you know when you're
enterprise.
getting, no, not that. No, how do you know when you're getting better? And like, if the metric is so personal, sometimes it's hard to know, like this is a really successful drawing and this is a failure and this is where I should be going more. Do you feel that way? Or are you just trying to draw your way?
I'm just trying to draw.
Free life. Just get through
until I die, basically. Or until I don't feel the need to draw anymore. Because it's really a need. It's like, it's not something that I do look forward to it, but it never used to be so relaxing. And it used to be more like I just need to draw something. And yeah, back in the day, like when I first started posting online on LiveJournal and MySpace and like Flickr and all that stuff that nobody cares about posting art on now.
Yeah.
I was so like attuned to like, oh, people really like this, and like I got to make more like this, and and it just drove me a little nuts because then I'm drawing for like these people and I don't even know them in real life or anything, and even if I did, it's like, why am I making stuff that all looks like this one or two drawings that people really like? Over time, I've just come to look at it like people really like the colors when there's a lot of colors, it seems. And, all that matters on Instagram is like somebody posting it who has a lot of followers. So like, I can't even, like, there's some drawing I have that has like 1,000 or 2,000 likes or something. And it's like only because somebody, liked it or shared it or whatever it is. Like, so I can't really use that as a metric I just feel guilty that I don't branch out and make bigger things and make, dabble in all these different mediums. That's what I always feel shitty about. Like, why am I still drawing on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper?
But that's cool too. Like, well, it's not cool if you don't desire it in some sense, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at is growth. There's some implication of ambition. Like, do you want, it sounds like it grew into a therapy at some point.
I would say that's quite accurate. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if that presents a resistance to trying an anxiety-inducing experiment or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I have tried things. It's just my thing is I'm very practical, so it kind of gets in the way because like with the airbrush, remember I brought an airbrush and a compressor and all that, and like I didn't really use it, and trying to use it was like frustrating because I had to spend my free time that I would have been spending drawing on like fucking around with this loud thing and this stuff. And like, I'm not in my room. I can't listen to music. I'm, it's like, I don't really have the patience to do that.
Right. There's an immediacy to what you do in the notebook language. It's just like you can do it at work, which is full time, right? Mm-hmm. And you've worked that mystery job for a long time. Well,
yeah, mystery career, but a couple of different places. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to say, I mean, but that's the whole problem of being alive, or one of the problems of being alive is like you have to make a living. You have to pay money to keep living in this world. And like, I just hate the inconsistency of like other types of jobs where you can't depend on a set schedule. Everything's like someone's bothering you to come in, or or if it's your own business and all that jazz, you have to like, spend your time doing it because someone didn't show up, or you can't really have that kind of schedule where you have time set aside for drawing, for example, where people don't get in your way and bother you. And,
I assume you don't sketch before.
No, I kind of do. It's so weird because like sometimes I do if I have an idea, and other times like I'm just drawing impulsively. I'm just following the the continual like idea as it develops, you know?
Yeah, but I mean like an illustrator would like work through a sketch phase, then arrive at the image.
I mean, sometimes I do, but it's not, it's a lot of it, that would be a painting. Like that's usually how I do painting, because I can't really paint impulsively because I don't have the correct understanding of like how to use the paintbrush. I mean, the best thing I ever painted was a unicorn painting for my girlfriend's birthday, because I did it. Like I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and I painted like I'm trying to be a painter and not trying to draw a damn paint, you know what I mean? Draw with paint or whatever.
And when you work for a client, like I think you did Brain Dead stuff, right?
Well, I mean, that was more like I sent stuff to Brain Dead and then they used it for something never really, and then sent me like some clothes, and that was like the end of that. And then like they used something else I never even knew used it.
That sounds fair.
Well, they're kind of, but I mean, I've had clients like, okay, I did the album cover, actually a front cover and a back cover for this band Tropical Trash.
Okay.
They're like a kind of a Dead Sea, like noise rock band or whatever from
Dead Sea noise rock.
You know, Dead Sea,
No.
They're like this band from New Zealand.
No.
That played, you know, they've been around for a while, but it's just kind of using the rock band format to make, you know, noisy music. But I did their LP, and then they have another side project band, and I did that more recently.
Do you like doing commissioned work?
It depends on the person. Like they were great to work with. They paid me. They were upfront about what they wanted. They were like good at giving me feedback. So they were fine. I mean, sometimes I'll work with people who are just like, just make something. And it's like, okay, but you know, what are you thinking of this being like? And they're just like, dude, everything you do is cool. It just makes sense. It's like,
usually
that's
you
not
do
helpful.
that, and then they go, actually, I think it should be a little more like this. I've never had a job where someone says, just make something, and it's been that.
Yeah.
That could be on me, though.
I don't know. Then again, this goes back to the fact that a lot of this stuff is like underground music things, you know, like
true. Sometimes
it's not, they're not really interested in, especially if it's like a set tape or something, you know, it's not really, they're not going to spend a lot of money on it, I guess is my point.
Yeah.
It's like a one-off or whatever, you know.
Have you ever been a part of a scene?
I don't believe so, because I always feel out of place in like any group of more than like a couple people. It's like, you know, so no, not like willingly or whatever.
Yeah, I think you need some will. Yeah.
But I mean, somebody might have lumped my art in, you know, with other art or what have you, like, without me knowing, you know, without me feeling like I'm part of that scene, you know, like comic books. I never feel like a comic book guy, but I'm always lumped in with a lot of comic book artists, which is fine. But I don't know how that happened or whatever, but
it's the aesthetic, and it's probably the boyish.
Oh yeah, the boyish
shit, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're totally right.
Because I think about what percentage of women even like my work, and it must apply to you as well.
Oh yeah.
I can't.
I've had women like my work, but they're not like normal women or whatever.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they're you know, you can kind of tell that they're into stuff that most women don't like.
Yeah, they ain't shopping at Oshkosh B'gosh.
Yeah, you know? Or Chico's for that matter.
Yeah, whereas I think most dudes would see it and just be down, because it's like it taps into something that occurs as a young boy. It could just be those influences you mentioned. The cartoons. And,
it's a very like Anglo. Well, I guess you could say Anglo world, like Western, like, you know, UK, America, Australia.
I never thought of it.
Those toys or those like TV commercials or action figures or whatever. Sure. You know,
there's not a lot of muscle though.
That's true. I used to, once in a while I'll make muscly guy, but like a lot of times like they are kind of muscular in like a way that, you know, in a slender manner. I mean, something that's weird about my art, obviously, is how a lot of people look similar to myself or whatever. And like, I try not to think about that. And I try just to draw, because I don't want to start analyzing my art so much as like, is this supposed to be me? Is this supposed to be like, Lisa? You know, I
think I like that lack of the psyche middlemanning the work. And what you see now, and like we're talking about with over identification, is like those are external things, and they just get in the way of the probability of a work being interesting or good. And usually artists who aren't interesting as people, which those happen, need those things. And I think they can be quite successful socially because, again, it connects to a group identity. So it's tempting to commodify that thing. And it's almost, inevitable in some ways. Like, I have people who like my work that we have no relation. Like, even since high school, it'd be like, were you on drugs? I hate that idea when you made that drawing.
Oh, I hate that too. I hate the idea that that's cheating, but not to go down that whole rabbit hole.
I mostly hate the idea that it's necessary to be creative. Because that's a pathetic society that thinks like you need a drug to think about something weird.
Yeah. I remember some teacher said that to me once in an anatomy class in college, just because she was talking about diseases. And she was like, saying how there's so much antibiotic resistance and yada, yada, yada. And I just raised my hand. I was like, well, don't you think it's possible that there'd be, another like mass, pandemic with a high mortality rate or whatever? And she was like, are you stoned or something? And like everybody was laughing. It's like, what? Like,
what was the implication?
I don't know. That
sounds
was too
impossible.
It was too big picture of a question, I guess. Like, since we were just talking about, shit you have to remember for the test or whatever.
I guess it's a form of dissociation when you can zoom out easily.
I do it all the time. I think that's why I'm like a miserable, or why I have a miserable like outlook of being alive because of that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, you almost shouldn't know or judge at certain scales. I don't even think you can judge individuals is pretty difficult as well. That's why I do like the Christian idea that like you just can't judge. Like you just don't have the information. Like I was talking about the book of Job yesterday, and that is just such a weird story. But part of it is just like, I could make your life a living hell, but you don't have the right to judge whether or not it is. Like, I could take everything away from you as God.
Yeah.
But how dare you, say that you can understand the complexity of the whole universe and what this one action means.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he just made a bet with Satan.
Yeah.
So it's a very weird story, but
it is.
I do think that is a disease that that super zooming out and judging it as if you have a handle on the total picture.
Well, you can't. You can't. I mean, I kind of straddle the line with it because there's like, I can't really know what this existence is, but there's certain things you can know, like, I guess, well, maybe you don't know why they happen or what the bigger picture is, but like, I guess like just like the resource use of modern civilization or something, like you can know that as a fact, like that's a big problem without, I guess.
Or someone dying in a tragic way is it's still tragic. Mm-hmm. It's just that you can't make an assessment per se of the whole thing.
Right.
As a practical person,
yes,
which you are, I am as well.
Yeah.
In some ways, like I just stopped fucking around with that whole as much as I could. I have a natural tendency towards like philosophical thinking, but I just tried to avoid the huge macro. What would you say?
Well, it's not useful.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And like, especially, I don't know if you're planning on having children or not, but it's like a detriment if you're trying to have a family and everything, because you can't think about that shit. That's like the only reason, but I just mean
that's real. It's like too top down. Prefer bottom up. Like, but it is always funny when like I meet artists. I think a typical person who's saying what you're saying or thinking that way is probably not productive at all. But then I know artists who think this way and like they might even be nihilistic supposedly, but they're cranking out work like with deep motivation.
Even though there's no larger purpose to it, or
at least
will be
by their
forgotten
claim
or whatever. Yeah.
And I always find it weird, unless it's a strict compulsion. But then you have to ask where that compulsion even comes from.
Yeah.
And why it's effective.
Is it based on, to me, it's like I found an escape, I think, probably in drawing at some point. I mean, not ever since I was a kid, but somewhere down the line, like I found an escape in it. and it became a way to channel my interests or obsessions. I'm very obsessive about things when I get into them, or I can be. And I think like it just kind of was a way to channel, like when I was really into Star Wars, like, just expressing that obsession through copying it, through drawing it, through, recreating and whatever. Like,
it was very much a Star Wars cantina, Tatooine on drugs.
Yeah, well, I always loved that. I mean, I don't want to talk about Star Wars because it became, absolute antithesis of everything good in the universe.
Yeah.
But
in that universe, no, Star Wars is amazing. I think about it almost every day. At least the parts I like about it.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to complain about it, even though it's obviously shit.
I haven't watched anything since whatever the last...
You gotta give up. Just give up. But the morality of it is really interesting to me. And I wonder if it just pairs well with being raised Christian, too.
It might, yeah. That's funny you mentioned that, because my parents wouldn't let me watch anything. But Star Wars was somehow acceptable because my dad liked it. Star Wars and like Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest
is great,
movies.
Dude. That dude's face is a nightmare.
My dad like was cool with that stuff, so yeah. And like my friends who were also Christian, they weren't allowed. I remember one of my mom's, my friend's mom, who was friends with my mom, was complaining about my dad letting me watching the Mos Eisley Cantina scene in Star Wars. She was like, why don't you fast forward it? And like, those things are demonic.
There's like some demon guys.
Yeah, I know.
But they're bad. They're supposed to be bad creatures. It's not like they're noble creatures.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
But I like the idea of drawing demonic, noble creatures, at least in the context of like the scene. You know what I mean? I have some scenes where I like to draw the guys.
Yeah.
They look like really like gross or whatever, but they're not doing something bad or what have you. They're just enjoying like a drink, or they're just like, relaxing or something. I don't know. Being watched by.
They're in the bathroom. They're domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I sit back and I just think about why Star Wars doesn't feel like a work of art. It feels like some force of nature or something. Like it's so weird that it took on this. I don't know if it's just really appealing world aesthetically, but
now what about Star Trek? Were you ever into that?
No.
See, me either.
I tried as a adult. It's just politics. It's politics and bad monsters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're just humanoid.
Well, that was always my thing with Star Trek. I would always be like, but they're just like other, it's just guys with like face masks. It's not like these puppets and these different shaped things. And
I love a good puppet.
Yeah.
Puppets are...
I mean, that's one of my dangers, is always drawing just humanoid guys, So I have branched out a lot, I think. A lot of like more Lovecraftian...
I was going to say, when I was talking about authors, Lovecraft is probably the easiest answer, right?
Answer?
Yeah, to the question of like, who is your closest, if you were an author and you wrote books with this world, who would it be? I suppose Lovecraft.
It might be, but Lovecraft, obviously, besides being a racist and like a weird, kind of...
What type of racist was he?
He was a racist. Well, he just preferred ugly-looking, like, motherfuckers like himself,
I don't know.
He didn't like, he wrote poorly of all, like, Asian and,
weird
black people and whatnot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, like, but it doesn't go into a lot. Like, all his, like, best stuff doesn't have that element so much.
Oh, he writes about it?
Well, yeah. Like, he has
I didn't know that.
I mean, he does like refer to like races of people and stuff as like fishy looking and like, this and whatnot in some of the later stuff, but it's not as like on the nose, like, these are ugly people or whatever.
Yeah.
I have to see.
But what were you going to say before you accused him of these?
Well,
sins?
No, just that, he maybe you could say Lovecraft, but I just think he obviously is from another time period, and like my work is heavily maybe like William Gibson and Lovecraft. Okay.
I haven't read enough.
To cut to
Gibson.
The chase.
Yeah, just say it. Just say it.
Yeah.
There's a bustling quality to your, like, there's civility or civilization. It's just perverted.
Yeah.
Or I don't even know. I'm thinking of a couple of drawings I have. Yeah, they're kind of rough.
Well, I know you got the one with that alien thing coming out. Like the alien with another thing coming out of his stomach, right?
Yeah,
but then I
like that. There's peace.
One.
There's peace in that one. Guys pointing like robo dogs at a guy who's running away in the distance.
Oh, okay.
Like to
catch him. From that Hammer of Power. That stuff was like I felt like that was like my low point of.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's what I have. No, but so you can acknowledge a low point. Why do you think it's low?
No, the actual drawing's not low. There's a lot of drawings in there I like, but it was a low point because I was trying to make this conceptual work for like 2000. What was that? 2012. It was a show called Hammer of Power in Austin, Texas at Farewell Books. It used to be called like Domi or something. Yeah. I don't know. But I tried to make this kind of medieval-esque looking, but futuristic, kind of maybe medieval Mars or medieval, whatever mystery planet civilization thing, where it was like, kind of Might is Right, like. Yeah. Not really a critique on it per se, just kind of showing the daily life of these, faces coming out of the ground is something I like to draw a lot for whatever reason. And this was kind of like a planet or something of faces stuck on the ground and like these Prince Valiant haircut guys that would go around like tormenting them and having these naked slaves, and it just felt a little too particular, I guess. Like I don't like having such a particular thing. Like this is this series of work, and these are all these types of characters, and these are these types of clothes, and I like it to be more vague,
Well, yeah, because
like it all runs together.
It's like a daydreaming quality.
Yeah, work. Exactly. I want it to all run together.
Yeah, the notebook on the desk, not paying attention to the current thing being taught is the most, although not concise, the most concise way to say what the aesthetic is.
I appreciate that, honestly, because that shows that you look at it and see it in a way similar to how I see it, and obviously that's preferable to, somebody looking at it and interpreting this horrible way. I mean, it's always the worst thing. I remember my friend and I had a band, and like, we thought we were like Van Halen and Manowar, like blasted amps and Andrew WK, whatever. And some guy came up to us after we played and he was like, "It was great. It reminds me of I'm a Robot." And it was just like, shit.
Nice. I was into that.
Me too. I had the CD, but like,
the pink.
But that's not what I wanted to be. God damn it.
What a weird energy that guy had in I'm a Robot.
I don't really remember. I just remember the CD and like a couple of songs, maybe the Black Jettas.
It was frenetic. There was a frenetic quality. But I like that if you went to school, they would never accept you, like in an art school academia setting. Like,
they wouldn't accept my art if I was just trying to make my own.
Like this notebook idea.
Yeah.
It's just unacceptable for whatever reason.
I kind of get it because you can't, because fine art is all about stuff that's impractical. So like, you go to a gallery and like this wall-sized thing or these like conceptual installations, and like if you're just making little notebook paper, anybody can kind of have it or whatever, and it doesn't really fit into the whole gallery,
It's the decadence of impracticality, the luxury of uselessness.
I mean, I would love to make a big thing, but I just think about all the practical reasons why it's stupid. It's like I don't have space.
Yeah.
Then once I make it, it's like stuck in my house unless I'm going to pay, hundreds of dollars to ship it to some show, and nobody's ever going to buy it. And I'm just going to be stuck with this like oversized thing.
No, I get it. Yeah. No, I think people underestimate how important the conditions surrounding an artist's life are. Like the reason you might make 8.5 by 11 drawings is just because you can fit it in a backpack. It's not a conceptual idea that you arrived at. It's not the perfect golden ratio size of a canvas or something. It's what works.
Yeah.
I prefer that to like all the bullshitting. There's many things like that for me. The problem is when it starts skewing towards digital for me.
Oh God. We have to talk about this before the end of this thing because the digital art, it's like I love the way some of it looks. I hate the way most of it looks, but it looks so fleshy and like flashy, and it has such like a
flushy.
Yeah, it has an interesting feeling to it that I could never reproduce, and it always makes me feel like my work is so crude and like it's something on a napkin, like in comparison to all this stuff. And so when I'm in a book with these other artists, I'm like, half of them are making all this digital stuff. I just feel like my thing looks, my contribution looks like total shit, but then some people like that. And maybe like I like it outside the context of the book, but in comparison, it looks so scrappy,
I don't know if that works against you because again, it's in line with what you're doing. Although reproduction maybe isn't in general.
Yeah,
I think your work is better in person as the thing.
Oh, I agree. Thank you.
And then sometimes when it's CMYK'd, gets muddy. We know that one book.
It doesn't have that
muddy.
Sharp. It lacks, and the colors don't always translate like the way that they are in real life, and that's what I hate in Instagram. Well, one reason I hate Instagram is everything has to conform to that ratio.
Oh,
It's like you can't zoom in. Like Flickr, at least you could click on it and look at the thing in detail, but you can't really look at anything.
No.
So I have so many drawings, and I'll post it, and I'll think it's great, and maybe it gets a lot of likes or whatever, like 400, 500 these days. But even if it's 300, it's like people like it, but they're missing out because they can't see all this shit going on, like in the background,
Your work isn't designed for that format.
No.
It's the worst visual
Why don't
format.
you make an app? I probably told this to you before, but you're the kind of guy that would be able to do this.
Okay.
Make an app that's good for just posting art, and naturally it's not going to be $1 billion thing right away, but artists
like Tumblr was close.
Tumblr was close, but Tumblr is all about the reblog or whatever it is called, right? Where you have the existing, you have a Tumblr, and it's made up of things that you take from other Tumblrs, and they take left for another Tumblr, and
sure,
Yeah. Now you could do that with art, but the ownership of it or whatever. I mean, you can hashtag it or whatever on Tumblr, but the whole thing with art is like you have your own, posting art online. You have your own little part of the platform where you upload your art, and that's how people see it.
Yeah.
And like, they gotta go to your thing to look at it as opposed to seeing it.
Yeah. I thought
10th time on some other,
not really an app developer, but I agree
because it's a vacuum.
Yeah.
Instagram sucks. Like
it's
now it's just full of ads. It's full of like, obvious like people who are just using it as a way to be famous, and they don't have any idea what they're good at or what they do. They just want to be famous and rich, and they're just taking pictures of themselves or taking pictures of their food or whatever. And it's a boring place now. I mean, not like it was ever exciting, but it's just totally like,
I have to ask you.
Yes.
Because it seems like a creation that would occur in your world, and I'm disturbed by it, and that's the AI art bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, I read up on it a little bit, and it's just like an inevitable part of capitalism or something.
I think it's just inevitable.
Yeah, it's like trying to make everything easier to, you just auto-generate this thing. You don't got to pay somebody. You don't got to find somebody. You don't got to, describe to them what you want, This sucks. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I guess you work for the municipality, so that can't be replaced.
Eventually, I think you can.
But also, from a copyright, like you're talking about with the reblogging and all that attribution, I was thinking about today how weird it is that how the hell do you make copyright law around someone putting in like a Matlock drawing of the Kardashian twins, and then it makes...
That would be cool. I mean, now that you gave me a good idea. Did you see those like meme image things where you can make not meme, sorry, the hell? It's like you can make an image using an AI, and you just have to write in a prompt or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a generator.
Yeah, DALL-E.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
what
I wrote stuff
in there, like Kip Winger, Gundam.
Oh, Gundam.
Yeah, it was like a cool combination.
What's your favorite Gundam?
I don't even have
series?
One. I was just thinking
series.
My favorite anime? That's more like, I've never even watched Gundam. I was just typing like random shit in there, like seeing what it would spit out. But I don't like the AI art, but yeah, I just feel like it's inevitable. And somebody could just write Matlock drawing of the Kardashian twins, and it would probably be cool looking. I don't know. I mean, the problem comes when they're getting all this money and all this shit, and I'm not getting anything, I guess, right?
Yeah, we should just make a zine of...
AI generated Matlock art. That would be cool.
Yeah. No, just make
a
comics anthology with no one's permission. and just
with just AI generated image. CF
yeah.
Patreon comic anime whatever, I don't know.
My thing is, I hope people just, with deep fakes and all this, like I hope people just stop using, and this is not going to happen. They just stop believing or using the internet in the next 5 years.
That's not going to happen.
No, but you could see, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Existence, the Cronenberg film. First of all, Cronenberg.
I don't think I have. Oh yeah, he's just like an influence. Even though I can't name a movie of his that I think is like perfect, but
he doesn't make perfect films.
Yeah,
he makes good and interesting films.
Yeah,
he's got to be top. It's body horror.
Yeah,
you know, like Suffering Vehicles. Everyone knows that one.
Everybody knows that.
That's
the greatest hits.
Yeah, that's a close peak.
Neves? I don't know how to say.
You feel that's a peak? Or close to one?
No, it's, to me, that's like, there's a lot of awkwardness in that, because there's the straddling the line. Like, are we drawing a car as a tormented person thing? Like, or are we drawing it as like a battle vehicle, kind of old school, tabletop game where there's a guy inside driving it?
Yeah.
It was just like ripped in between all these different things, and then trying to make it very ragged and kind of chewed up looking inside, but like every car looks like that. It just gets boring. It's like, wouldn't some of them be like sleek and cool look, not all like scratched up? And I don't know, it's
just a good phrase.
Yeah, I like it, but I just feel like I was a little not. I just wanted it to be a lot of things, and I guess I couldn't bring it all together, like, in a way. I mean, the titles are what I think for me make it really cool, because it makes it like a car combat sort of video game, like Twisted Metal or something in a way, and like the gross game landscapes or whatever. Like, I like the landscape ones more than the ones in the car.
I didn't go to prom. Instead, I played Twisted Metal.
My friend and I used to love playing Twisted Metal, but
I went to the prom after party though.
I didn't go to the prom, didn't go to graduation, didn't go to college graduation. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that just like, whenever there's like a group thing, I always feel like an outsider, and I always get like in this probably defensive position of like, fuck this thing,
Yeah. Who's your favorite Twisted Metal vehicle?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, shit, I don't even remember.
It depends which one you played. Like, I was playing the Axle one.
Oh,
the man who's condemned to have wheels for arms.
Yeah, no, I remember him. He was a pain in the ass. Like, my friend and I would like pick different cars. I think I would pick like, wasn't there a cowboyish sort of one or something?
Axle.
No. I could be mixing it up.
Axle just like drills, I think. He's like a pointy yellow car.
I hated the clown one too.
Horrifying.
Yeah. I hated, because my friend and I would always pick two different ones. Then we'd kill all the other guys, and then we'd fight to the death, just the two of us at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what we did like for hours and hours and hours and hours.
There had to be a sassy car that I'm forgetting.
But I'm mixing it up with Rogue Trip, and there's some other car combat games that I don't really remember that clearly.
No, this was like Rob Zombie-ish, Power Man 5000.
That's the time period, yeah.
Yeah.
I was into all that for sure.
You think you'll be like 80 and making the same drawings? Is that possible?
I mean, if I live that long,
so it's a matter of
depending on what I have to work with at the time. I have like,
you're a dietitian.
Absolutely no. I'm definitely not a dietitian. I have absolutely no like hope for the future being better than it is right now at this moment.
That's
and
beautiful,
it's not even
beautiful
that,
optimism.
And it's not even that good at this moment. Like, it just feels so ingenuine.
Where do you think you'll die?
I mean, obviously I'd like to die at home, but probably in some like shitty government, like, just mass like housing that's falling apart for like old people that don't have anywhere to go. If
like
that
like
still exists.
Kafka-esque
Maybe, yeah. Some disgustingly hot and humid, gross place where I'm just drenched in sweat and
no, but
don't
like,
want to live anymore. But I keep waking up each day, and Lisa will probably be dead, and I'll just want to kill myself.
Okay.
That's the best case scenario.
The idea of an 80-year-old drawing those drawings is just, it's funny to think about the kind of deviance of our generation's old people compared to like
how we're going to probably live, or even people a long time ago. Yeah.
I just think that there was more of a pattern, a natural pattern to life that people actually accepted. Like, oh, I have kids, and then like I'm not trying to get fucked, you know. I'm not like dressing. I'm not 60 and dressing like I'm trying to get fucked. Like I'm now in this stage,
right?
And then I'm an old person.
You're admitting you're an old person and just going with it.
You like read a book and knit, and then you die.
But see, there's my grandmother who she's 99 years old at the moment, and she doesn't dress young or try to look sexy or do young people things. But you know, she reads books and knits, but she still is like trying to basically live as long as possible because she's like in love with herself, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I hope I have those genes, but then like it depends. You want to live forever when life sucks? I don't know. I mean, she's enjoying her life, but she's an extrovert. She's like she loves being the center of attention. It's like the opposite of me.
Right.
She doesn't ever think outside the box. She won't talk about anything like mildly distressing. She'll just be like, let's change the subject.
You're just going to disintegrate one skin flake at a time. Like your skin just won't regenerate.
Probably. I mean,
your body will just stop.
I don't know. I mean, where do you see yourself when you're 80 years old, if you're still here in this life?
I don't know. I don't have a great clarity there. I don't think I'll die in New Jersey. I don't know. I don't think I'll die in New Jersey.
That's a good. I see. I don't even think about it like that. But yeah, I probably don't want to die.
And more and more, I think I want to take up space. Like I used to be like all that cremation kick, you know. But now I'm like, oh, I like these like weird. I was at a cemetery yesterday. Mm-hmm. You were there, right? No, I'm kidding. It's just,
for the script.
Just like these little houses, you know, these little lots.
My girlfriend loves going to cemeteries and like taking photos.
Mm-hmm.
And the one near her house is kind of cool, but...
Which one?
Have you been to... well, the one I really want to talk about is the one in Jersey City. It's like this weird... There's goats there in the summertime, and it's like kind of...
No.
We'll have to look it up later.
Okay.
It's really cool, though. I mean, it's not that great to walk around in when it's summer and, you know, and like or even early spring or whatever, and the grass is all overgrown. There's snakes and there's like... You know, a lot of like mosquitoes and stuff, but it's really cool because it's like cracked pavement, it's cracked ground areas, and there's like
older looking.
There's a lot of graves there from. I mean, there's a few like ones from the 60s, I think, but a lot of them are like really old where you can't even read the, the
name.
Yeah. Was
there a phase where your parents recognized that your drawings were just like unacceptable?
They never really told me. I mean, my parents are both kind of pushovers, and like they would never tell me my drawings were unacceptable. I think the only thing that ever would happen would my mom would just point out like the breasts or whatever, like don't draw, like you're not supposed to draw these, like, you know, even if I'm just copying
at what age? Did they just give
maybe
up?
Like 8 or 9, I don't know.
They just gave up at a certain point.
I mean, I gave up drawing women for a long time, not because of that, but because they always looked like really ugly, and I would have to copy them off of the internet or something, you know, the face or whatever.
They're much harder to draw.
They are.
Than men.
Because there's like an ideal for it that you're projecting, I think, in my case, like trying to draw an attractive woman. And, you know, I mean, nowadays I don't really have to think about it. I can probably draw one pretty easily, but...
you get to use less lines.
But my mom would put a white piece of paper over their breasts or over their butts or whatever, and she would tape it in the comic book or in the video game guidebook or whatever it was.
That's cool.
It was pretty annoying, actually.
You should...
I didn't ever remove it because I knew it would rip, but like it ruined the whole like uniformity of the image. Like the only reason I ever got into comics was the drawings, you know, the art of it, really. And it like wrecked the whole fucking thing. But,
you know, your art has that kind of collage composition quality at times where there's like a little circle here or rectangle. So I think your mom did that.
That's
your mom. That's all your mom.
That's true, dude.
Yeah,
I'll have to tell my mom. I mean, I love my mom. I don't have any problem with her. She always apologizes for that time period. And I always tell her it's fine. Like, I'm sure I had a better childhood than
and you caught up.
Most people. Yeah.
You caught up with all the boobs.
Yeah.
After.
Exactly. And maybe that's why, like, you know, I'll work that into my art, you know, the triangles or rectangles or whatever. It's a cool observation.
So despite your complete disenchantment with life.
Yeah.
Ooh, what are you excited about to be working on next? Or even influences, honestly. Are there any artists that you're like actually interested?
Damn, it's like hard to say. I mean, I look at art on Instagram. I still like, Leomi Sadler there, but
Sure.
I look at less than I used to, probably because the algorithms and all that bullshit. But I usually just scroll through the thing for like a couple minutes, and then I go to my own thing and post something or answer a message. So
I'm saying beyond that.
Beyond Instagram?
Yeah.
Most of the art I like to look at is just older. Like, I like looking at sci-fi, especially lately, like old sci-fi book covers, like 70s mostly. Yeah,
you can feel that.
Especially the more bizarre ones. And, I like looking at like Thai, like amulets a lot. Like these weird occultic amulets that they have, the darker magic, not so much just the Buddhas or whatever. Medieval art, I always, usually enjoy looking at that, but haven't been as big into that.
Are you a magic practitioner?
No, I mean, I've dabbled, but I don't have the discipline for it, sadly.
It's a discipline thing.
Yeah, it's a discipline. You got to really believe in what you're doing, and you got to like carry it out without like debating and without like philosophically like thinking about it and shit,
Like, what if this backfires while you're throwing the spell?
Or like, why am I, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm afraid of magic. I don't do it. But I'm just curious.
I really like the sigil magic because it incorporates drawing. It's like drawing, a symbol out of something, that was written down in English in this case. But honestly, like, it's hard for me to really like believe in it 100%. So it seems like not worth the time. Because that's the only time it's worth doing. When you got to go all in 100%.
So you just made a comic.
Yes, it's called I Don't Belong Here.
Oh, wow.
It's it's from Neoglyphic Media. And
they went from a press to media, is that right?
Or is it? No, it's Mega Press.
Oh, I'm confused.
Yeah, it's Neoglyphic Media, but it's honestly like I just kind of made it without too much planning. And
when does it came out already?
Yeah, I think it was 2021.
Oh, so I'm way behind. So what are you working on now?
Well, I'm not working on comics. I was working on these large drawings. Actually, they're like 19 by, shit. I'm trying to think of the size. Maybe it's one of those European, like A6. I don't know. One of those types. It's a larger rectangular piece of paper. So I have been working on those for something I was doing with Neoglyphic Media. We were going to make a large print, or at some point we'll make that size print zine. And it's going to basically, what I intended it to be is like a hobo on these different universes or whatever, like what I saw as a hobo in this like multiverse or whatever. So it's these different scenes in different places, because, basically it's kind of fashionable because that was Colin's idea, was like a fashion type of zine at that size. So I have like spent a lot of time with the clothes and everything. And basically just trying to work on that, but it kind of got on the side burner at the moment. So, but I would love to do like a large thing that's not a damn newspaper, like a large like book, where you can look at all the details and see everything that's occurring in the drawing clearly, and it doesn't look muddy, and it's not a fucking newspaper. Sorry, but it's just, the newspaper doesn't preserve well because of the wrinkles,
the details, etc. You have sharp line work.
Yeah.
Print.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. You sharpen pencils? How do you sharpen the pencil?
No, I honestly don't sharpen them that much. I mean, I'll sharpen them once they get too dull to keep using.
All right, so I like to end it on a joke.
Okay. I had a good time, by the way. I think that
tell me a joke.
Oh, I'm supposed to tell a joke?
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't know. I'm really bad at telling jokes.
Can you remember something funny?
Shit, the only joke I honestly remember, it's not very good. It's like,
go ahead.
There's this guy, he's in Russia, and he's like doesn't want to be, recruited to go to the Ukraine. He's like running away, and there's this nun, and he's like, "Sister, can I hide under your skirt? Because, I don't want to have to go to the Ukraine and fight. I'm going to die." And so she says, "All right." So he goes under there. These 2 Russian soldiers are coming down. Obviously, they didn't see that. And they say, "Sister, where is, this soldier? Have you seen a guy passing by? We're looking for him. He's trying to avert, the military effort or whatever." And she says, "No." So then they go away. And then the guy comes out and he says, "You have really nice looking legs. And thank you for, hiding me." Wow. And she said, "I really don't want to go to the front lines and die in Ukraine." And she says, "No problem. You didn't see my balls. I don't want to go to Ukraine either and die in the front lines."
That's topical.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good joke.
No problem.
Very topical.
Obviously, I heard it from somebody.
No, I know.
I can't make this stuff up. Make up jokes. I'm terrible at making jokes. I absolutely don't like comedy for the most part.
Oh, weird.
I know it is. I mean, I like laughing at the absurdity of things, so I kind of have an absurd sense of humor, but I don't enjoy comedy movies or comics or anything for the most part. I kind of avoid them. I don't know why, but
that's sad.
Yeah, it's like a seriousness that doesn't need to be. On that note.
All right, where can they find you?
Well, my Instagram,
yeah,
unfortunately, is the only place I post art at the moment. My website, I kind of let it go because nobody was really.
They're kind of worthless things.
It's like an ancient format.
Yeah. What is the Instagram
handle? MDL_interface.
MDL interface.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's where I predominantly post, updates and my art as well as things that I do, commissions and whatnot.
Okay. Well, now it's time to go to Soldado Books and Records. You can meet us there. After that, Williams Center open mic. Everyone's welcome. Matlock's going to be performing. What would you perform if you had to do open mic?
I would just play a keyboard, I guess.
We should have set that up.
Yeah, it's okay. I've been getting better, but I still suck. Hey, it's a cat.
What a good one. Music by Dory Bavarsky and Mingja Chen. Next up, we have the Lyons Brothers.